Good evening. Welcome to our first live forum since before COVID began. We're really excited to be able to have everybody here tonight. And thanks to City Hall for making it happen. Democracy depends on educated voters. And the purpose of this forum is for the candidates to answer questions submitted by the public and the league so you can make an informed choice when you vote. This forum is being presented by the League of Women Voters and East Bay Media Group. Scott Pickering is the managing editor of East Bay Media Group, and he will be our moderator. I'm Susan Esherick, and I'm here representing the League along with our volunteers, Mary Chase and Naomi Kennedy, and Donnie McGee is out by the door there. Let's begin by standing and saluting the flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which it stands, one nation, indivisible, liberty, justice for all. Thank you. The League of Women Voters has been holding candidates forums at local, state, and national levels since women got the vote in 1920. The League never supports or opposes candidates. We hold voter registration drives and members study issues important to their localities, states, and the nation, reach consensus and advocate for positions developed by this process. We invite you to learn more about the League by visiting our website and contacting us. Not sure where the camera is, but I'll put it for you. Okay. At this website. Consider joining the League to support our work. Tonight, we begin our forum for the two candidates for mayor of East Providence, Bob DaSilva and John Rossi. Following this debate, two candidates for the East Providence School Committee, Ward 2, will debate, Max Brandel and Carissa Mulia. Each candidate in both debates will have the same amount of time to speak. Each gets an opening and closing statement and will have a minute to answer 8 questions, 8 to 10, I believe. The other candidates will have a minute to discuss the same questions. Each candidate also gets 8 wild cards of 30 seconds each that he can use to expand on any issue, bring up a new subject, or to lengthen the closing statement. We are looking for thoughtful comments, not zingers. Your job as the audience is to turn off noise-making devices like cell phones and to remain quiet, please, until the end of the debate, when you can show your appreciation of the candidates by applauding. Enjoy the debates. I turn it over to Scott Pickering.
All right, thank you, Susan. Excuse me, and thank you to our audience. It's with us. This is very unusual. I've done roughly 30 of these or so, and it feels like it's been forever since I've actually been sitting anywhere other than a tiny little room with 3 other people. So it's the first live audience I've had for any of these in a long time. It's great. Thank you for the audience that is with us tonight. Susan went through the ground rules. Both of these gentlemen have been through one of these before at the primary, so they're very familiar with our format. We predetermined the order in which they're going to go. So Mr. Rossi is the first to deliver an opening statement, and Mr. DaSilva will go next. And the opening statements, a long series of question and answers or medium-sized series of question and answers. And then we'll have closing statements. And we have a very sophisticated timekeeping system here that you can't see. If you're watching us in Zoom or if you're here in the audience, you can't even see it. But we have a number of volunteers from the league here who are tracking the time. Candidates can see it, so it keeps them on course for everyone speaking equally throughout the night, which is our #1 goal. We want to have an equal forum for everyone here. All right. Without further ado, I'm going to start our opening statements. The camera is
So should I be looking dead ahead? Up there?
over there.
Okay.
And Mr. Rossi, you may begin.
Thank you, Scott. Thanks to the League of Women Voters. Thank you, Mayor DaSilva, for holding this here tonight. Good evening, everyone. My name is John Rossi, and I'm your candidate to become the next mayor of East Providence. This evening, I hope to show you the difference between leadership and showmanship. A mayor should be open, honest, and transparent with its citizens. A mayor should surround himself with a qualified team, not political insiders. A mayor should motivate this team and serve the public with honest, hard work and financial transparency. Without the trust that comes with truthful communications and open government, it is impossible for us to come together as a city to tackle our greatest challenges. It should not be necessary to file open record requests to discover the basic facts on projects being implemented in your neighborhood. We can and we will do better. I am ready to implement changes to our policies so that it works better for all of us. I am running for mayor because I believe East Providence deserves a mayor we can trust to work on behalf of the taxpayers, not just the wealthy and well-connected.
Thank you. And Mr. DaSilva.
I want to thank the League of Women Voters and the East Bay Newspaper Group for putting on this forum. I think it's vitally important that voters learn what qualifications either one of us have to run this city. It's over the last 4 years, we've had a lot of challenges and we've got a lot accomplished. We had to deal with a worldwide pandemic. We took care of our residents by getting them vaccinated, getting testing kits, and getting them food when they needed it the most, when it was shut down. Despite the pandemic, we also moved our city forward, growing economically, bringing in small businesses and large, manufacturing, making improvements to our infrastructure, our parks. We're inspecting our water system and our sewer system, and we're making repairs where needed. We've hooked up to a second source of water with the Bristol County Water Authority. All this done during a pandemic. And I hope that the people will see that we've got the leadership necessary to continue leading the city forward. I want to thank the voters who gave me a majority vote in the primary, and I want to congratulate my opponent for coming in second.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, so we're going to move to question and answer now. And for the audience that is with us, just to, again, set the scene. You're here with us. We appreciate it. Your role is to sit quietly and observe and appreciate the dialogue. It's not a back and forth or a chance to shout encouragement or disagreement from the audience. So I appreciate your cooperation with that. And yes, silencing cell phones is also appreciated. All right, first question, Mr. Rossi is going to begin with you. I have a feeling this one is one you two will not agree on. Why are you a better choice than your opponent to be the next mayor?
I believe I'm the better choice to be the next mayor because, quite frankly, I don't believe in political insiders. This administration is full of political insiders. I also believe that we should have some recommendations that were done by the Budget Commission should be followed, a 5-year budget plan, so that it would be a sustainable budget. I've watched this budget go up and up and up, and it's up by another $9 million this year to $211 million. There is no projection where this additional $9 million will come over for next year. The budget is frivolous and downright dangerous. It used APRA money to fill budgetary holes along with projected revenues that we're not quite sure if they're going to actually meet those projections. A short time ago, we had a budget commission. I don't want to have another.
Thank you. Mr. DaSilva, why are you a better choice than your opponent to be the next mayor?
I think we have a track record. We've led this city during some very precarious times, and we've brought our city from a credit rating that was below par to an A1 credit rating. We've seen new developments in the city, bringing jobs and manufacturing to the city when manufacturing had been fleeing the city. We see that we've put in fiscally responsible budgets to fully fund our school department and to pay for a brand new high school built on time, under budget. I mean, we've got a track record to run on. Not only can you look at my track record as mayor, but you can look at my track record, as a legislator, being a leader as a legislator, being a leader in the police department and raising through the ranks to become a captain. So I've had true management and leadership experience as opposed to my opponent that I don't really know if he's had that experience, but we have had demonstrable experience that you can look at and say, you know what? Yes, They've done it once before and they can do it again.
Thank you. All right, move to a new question, begins with Mr. DaSilva. What should the city do to assist residents struggling with housing costs, utility bills, and general inflation?
I think what the city's done is we've kept with our budget increases to a minimum. We've fully funded the debt service for the school, increases in school funding, increases in funding for contractual obligations. But we've done that and kept those costs low. And I think how you help residents is you give them opportunities. You bring in job opportunities for their children and for themselves to grow economically. As a city, we've been working with small businesses to give small businesses storefront improvement grants that will help our small businesses continue to grow and flourish. And a lot of those small businesses are owned by residents. So we've lowered or actually increased the homestead exemption so that there was more relief for homeowners when they're paying their tax bills. So we've done quite a bit, and I think we can do, we will do a lot more going forward.
Mr. Rossi, same question. What should the city do to assist residents struggling with housing costs, utility bills, and general inflation?
Families are struggling right now. They're going to be making a choice this winter, whether to heat their homes or eat food or get their prescription drugs. And I think the easiest way for the city to ease the burden on the folks of this city is to reduce the tax burden. The mayor speaks about keeping his tax burden low. It's gone up by 1.87% this year. And that's in addition to the $3 million in speed camera revenue. So if you really looked at what the percentages are, it's close to a 5% tax increase. Also, he says that we cut the homestead, or actually increase the homestead. What we really need to do to attract new business and keep businesses here is reduce the tangibles. That money had to come from somewhere when they increased the homestead. I'm not saying it didn't help the residential people of this city, but it does nothing to help the business with the tangibles, 5th highest in the state.
Thank you. All right, we can move to a new question, beginning back with Mr. Rossi to start. Please explain your position on the speed camera system installed in school zones around the city. Do critics of the program have merit?
I believe critics of the program do have merit. These are nothing more than revenue generators. They're billed as a program for school safety when they have nothing for school safety. I was thinking about that today as I was going by Bayview Academy. Apparently, the children on the northbound side benefit from the speed camera and safer than the people, the kids on the southbound side where there are no speed cameras. The fact of the matter is this is a program that generates revenue. It leads to wasteful spending. It leads to not having to make hard decisions in a budget. And if speed cameras work, then speed cameras to slow people down, speed camera companies would be out of business. And in fact, they touted the contract that was signed with the city of East Providence that projected 5-year revenues of $6 to $8 million. It's just about generating revenue.
Mr. DaSilva, please explain your position on the speed camera system. Do critics of the program have merit?
No, I think when you look at the one of the number one complaints I get is about people speeding through people's neighborhoods. I get those complaints still today. The city council asked the administration on a unanimous vote to look into speed cameras, and we did, including 2 council people that support my opponent. And we looked at it and we saw that it was worked in other communities, and we put it in place, and you can see that people are slowing down by the schools. They slow down. During the summertime, when we turned off the cameras, we had 2 very serious incidents outside of Kent Heights School. One involved a pedestrian being struck by a vehicle, and the other one was a vehicle that took out a pole, snapped a pole. So the reality is, I get calls all the time asking if we can put these cameras in people's neighborhoods, but we can't. We can only put it by law in front of school zones for children's safety. And if you can just keep your speed down, you don't have to worry about a ticket. By the way, the side benefit is that 82% of those fines go to offset tax increases to our residents.
I'd like to have a moment, please.
Please, take a moment.
So just to correct the mayor on a couple of things here. It was not a unanimous vote by the city council. That is incorrect. It was a vote of 4-1. And this is all about revenue generation. And there are many municipalities in Rhode Island who are going to get used to this incoming revenue. And quite frankly, they're going to get addicted to it. And it is my understanding that the Rhode Island legislature will be soon passing legislation that will bring it to every street. It is a revenue generator, nothing more, nothing less.
I'll counter that because it's interesting that there was a resolution introduced by, once again, one of the people that support you, asking the state legislator to consider allowing those cameras to be used in other areas outside of school districts. So if they do that, it's because people in the community are asking for it. We're getting people all the time asking for us to find a way to get people to control their speed and their reckless driving through neighborhoods.
All right, thank you. All right, yep, I'm keeping an eye on the timekeepers. I get it. They're working their way through complicated technology, but each of you have used a wild card, and we're going to move to a new question, which will begin with Mr. DaSilva. This is a more expansive question, and you can go in many directions with it. Both of you can. And you guys are just about ready. All right. What should the city be focusing on in the next 5 years to support local businesses, expand the commercial tax base, fill vacant storefronts, attract new businesses, create new jobs, or all of the above?
Our administration has been doing it. We don't have to wait 5 years. We've been doing it during a pandemic. We just had an announcement from IGUS of a $200 million investment in our community to build out a 700,000 square foot manufacturing business here in East Providence in Rumford. Nexens, a cable company, moved to East Providence to support IGUS, more manufacturing jobs. I had a conversation with Commerce RI just yesterday about another cable manufacturing company that wants to move into our city. It's been one win after another, after another, after another under my administration. Small businesses, large businesses have been opening and expanding. Now we're going to help the existing small businesses by helping them beautify their storefronts. And we'll come up with some other programs using ARPA. We have multiple ideas in the that we're working out to help those existing small businesses make it through the pandemic. We helped out with Take It Outside grants. Our administration has been leading the way, and we've been growing business and growing manufacturing jobs here in our city.
So Rossi, I'll repeat the question. What should the city be focusing on in the next 5 years to support local business, expand the commercial tax base, fill vacant storefronts, attract new businesses, create new jobs, or all of the above?
As I've gone around this city and spoke to many small business owners, it's not just about helping out new businesses come here, but businesses that have been here for many decades to stay here. Once again, what no one talks about is the tangible tax. It's the 5th highest tax in the state, and it doesn't need to be. And people need a break. I talk to plenty of small business owners who will not invest in new equipment, will not invest in things that would increase their tangible taxes. I talked to one business owner who, because of tariffs that were imposed on a piece of equipment that he bought, he approached the city and asked that the additional $200,000 that added to that piece of equipment be reduced to what the real cost of that piece of equipment was. And he was turned down, and his tangible taxes last year was $65,000. We need to solve the problem of 1 million square feet of commercial space that is available. That is how you expand the tax base without going back to residents time in and time out again.
Okay, new question. Mr. Rossi, we begin with you. How do you personally set your priorities for green space and recreational space in the city? Do you favor more sports fields, more passive recreation parks, more open space, or some combination of these?
I'd be in favor of a combination of all of those. And I've made my position clear about the preservation of green space. In fact, I'm very proud of the fact that I've been endorsed by Climate Action RI to preserve green space, both passive, both useful in terms of sports fields. I'm a former athlete. I'm a former all-state athlete. Of course, sports, I think, is a vital part of growing up, of the youth. I have to applaud the mayor for his involvement in youth sports and his coaching. It's a combination of all, but we really need to preserve our green space. According to the Rhode Island Department of Health, East Providence is the third hottest city in the state. We're the fifth largest city in the state, third hottest. And if we continue to expand on the green space we have, I'm sure we'll be taken to number one as the number one hottest city in the state.
Mr. DaSilva, same question.
I believe that a combination is what's important. I mean, we've got passive, active recreation. You've got, the East Bay bike path that goes through our community. We've got acres and acres of open space that is currently accessible to our community and others that are not. It's open space that is not really fully accessible, but it's there in our community. So I feel that our administration has focused on improving those spaces throughout the community with investments in our parks. Some of these parks had been neglected for decades. Grassy Plains comes to mind. Hull Street Playground, we've made investments in. We're preparing to make investments, and we already have at the Riverside Recreational Facility. We're adding a new multi-purpose field behind Riverside Middle School so that our middle school students and the community at large have a decent place for them to recreate and play and have their school sports. So our administration is committed to preserving open space and investing in our infrastructure.
Thank you. All right, we're going to move to a new question, Mr. DaSilva. Starting with you, we'll stay in this general topic area. As mayor for the next term, what would you do about the proposed development for the Metacomet Country Club property?
I think what we've done, the council has done an incredible job in negotiating to keep approximately half of that space as open green space. They've negotiated a 9-hole golf course that will be a public golf course that our high school students will be able to use as their home field, their home playing field. They've negotiated a 9.6 acre tract of land that will be used by our community to have passive and recreation to walk for walking trails. And they've negotiated that 10% of whatever gets developed there is affordable housing. I mean, we know that there's an affordable housing crisis. And my goal has always been that whatever gets developed there fits into the fabric of the community from day one. That privately owned property owned by a private developer, we're going to ensure that it fits into the fabric of that community.
Mr. Rossi, same question. As mayor for the next term, what would you do about the proposed development for the Metacomet Country Club property?
I've stated my position before. I'll state it again. It's been thwarted at the city council level. It hasn't been supported by the mayor, but I believe that there should be a ballot question to take this property by eminent domain and preserve it as green space or use for the city. And I haven't wavered on that position. My position is also that it has to have a cap of $15 million, not to exceed $15 million for a bond issue to do it. These are hard decisions to make. It's a gem. I would suggest that you go on my Facebook and take a look at the aerial shot of that golf course and the expanse that it is. I grew up in that neighborhood. It's part of that neighborhood. I think it segues perfectly with the development down on the waterfront. It should be passive space. A lot of people, I understand private property rights, but the Gettysburg Cemetery was owned by a private company. I'm glad that the state of Pennsylvania or the federal government took it over by eminent domain.
Let me just say that eminent domain is an action, a legal action that will be taken and can only be taken by the city council. The city council did its due diligence. They actually hired their own attorney to in the end, give them the same opinion that our solicitor gave them. And after listening to all the facts and after looking at the fiscal impact that it would have on our city, they decided against eminent domain. My job is to protect the interests of our community and to keep us on a good fiscal footing.
Thank you.
I'd have to disagree with my opponent on this. I think it can be done. You just have to have the will to do it. There's a piece of property in Barrington that I believe was housed the Carmelites right on Nayet Road. A beautiful, beautiful piece of property right there on Nayet Road that was going on to the private market. Within a week, over a weekend, the town of Barrington, the town council decided to preserve this beautiful piece of green space because they had the will to do it.
All right, new question. Mr. Rossi begins with you. Between traffic impact and student enrollment, particularly in elementary schools, how should the city be responding to development of the Wampanoag Meadows project, the future site of 416 1- and 2-bedroom units off the Wampanoag Trail?
First of all, I think we really have to take a hard look at the Oldham School on Bullocks Point Ave. It's been vacant there for a while. I think it needs to be opened up because we do have overcrowding in the schools and it's going to just become worse. And there's going to be all kinds of taxes on city services. I get that the property was developed. I also get that it had laid fallow for years, but you have to have a plan. That's why I'm advocating for a 5-year budget plan, as the Budget Commission suggested. It's great that we're having development, but we have to prepare for that. I know the mayor has different plans for Oldham School. I think Oldham School should be renovated and open for business because we're going to need that space to house children and to educate them, which is probably the most important thing this government is entrusted with doing.
Mr. DaSilva, same question. Between traffic impact and student enrollment, particularly in elementary schools, how should the city be responding to development of the Wampanoag Meadows project?
The Wampanoag Meadows project, as part of the planning and approval process, was required to do an impact on the school department, and it was a minimal impact. What we've seen with some of these developments, especially when you take a look at Kettle Point, that had absolutely zero impact. These apartments will be market rate apartments. And I think they're mostly one and efficiency type units. So you don't see large family units moving into these type of apartments. These are apartments that people are either downsizing and they want a safe place to live, or just starting out as a young couple or a young family. You don't see huge impacts on the school system, and that was the results of the studies that they provided us.
Thank you.
So just as a counterpoint to that, that is the story, that is the tale that is told about Kettle Point. However, upon talking to people who downsized to Kettle Point left neighborhoods within the city, and new families moved in. And those new families obviously want to utilize a school, which is their right to do. So you got to peel back the onion. It's not just simply we're developing this property, here's the impact study. I think that it really needs to be looked into further because I believe that school is going to need to be open. And I'm all for that.
Thank you. And our timekeeping crew, yep, take off a wild card from Mr. Rossi.
How am I down to?
You've used 3, you're down to 5 left. And by the way, I'm watching the timekeeping crew. It's like watching a child like grow and learn. They're getting better and faster with every round of questions. I can picture them adapting and they're doing fantastic.
It's kept me focused on it.
This is high quality stuff. All right, next question. This is the last of my long questions. Mr. DaSilva begins with you. Are all city departments, including the schools, properly funded so they can deliver high-quality services without creating an undue burden on taxpayers? If not, what will you work to change in the next term?
Yeah, they are all properly funded. We just went to a budget process that just wrapped up last week. And, you know, we introduced a budget that had a 0.67% change on the tax levy. The school department introduced a budget that increased their budget by the state maximum of 4%, and we fully funded that. So I believe that we're fully funded. We actually, I believe the council added even more funds into the budget to hire more positions. And we're going to be signing that budget probably tomorrow or the day after. So we've been funding city government appropriately. When I first came into office, you know, my first job was, you know, fine tuning the budget in each department, and we cut back a lot and we eliminated positions where we had to. But now we're at a funding capacity that continues us moving forward.
Mr. Rossi, are all city departments, including the schools, properly funded so they can deliver high-quality services without creating an undue burden on taxpayers? If not, what will you work to change in the next term?
So they are adequately funded. How that funding mechanism has taken place, though, is one-time APRA money. If you look all over the budget, if you can actually find it, because it's not quite the kind of budget I'm used to reading. He's plugged in all kinds of holes throughout the city and throughout departments with one-time APRA money payments. It's a once in a lifetime source of revenue for this city. And I don't think it should be squandered plugging holes in department budgets or the city budget. It should be used for what it was meant to be used for, which is to improve infrastructure, strengthen our technology, strengthen our sewer and water system. But these are all one-time payments. That's why if you don't have a 5-year budget plan, you don't know where that money is going to come from next year. That is going to be a pool of money that dries up. There is no plan.
Thank you. Next question. Mr. Rossi begins with you. What is your vision for the future of East Providence? Should it be a destination city? And what do you see as needed to make it so?
Absolutely that it should be a destination city. I've had many conversations with many people. We're a waterfront city, and the waterfront needs to be developed. It needs to become a destination. Go down to places like East Greenwich in the summer, Wickford, Newport. We need to develop this waterfront. We need to do it smartly. Some venues are going to be added, but it definitely should be a destination. It's a wonderful community. Tourism should be part of that. These other communities, they take full advantage of their waterfront, and ours is becoming cleaner and cleaner, thanks to some foresight many years ago to clean up the bay. There's all kinds of boating on the bay. We're a short distance away from those boaters to come here, pull up dock here, have lunch here, spend their money here, and help this city out to become the tourist destination it should be.
Mr. DaSilva?
Our city will become a destination city, and it already to a degree is. I mean, we've had outdoor concert venues by Live Nation going on now for the last few years, and they are getting ready to hold a groundbreaking where they will be building an outdoor concert pavilion. And along with that pavilion, there'll be other support businesses that will be building around that. So yes, I envision East Providence as a destination city, not only a place where you want to come and recreate, but a place where you want to come and work and have a career. You know, we're looking at building a port that's going to support the offshore wind industry. We have a $35 million commitment from our state Governor Dan McKee and our General Assembly. And once that port is built, those are long-term, good-paying jobs for our children, for our future. And that's expanding the tax base, which in the end will protect our current residential and business owners from expanding their tax requirements. So we're looking forward to that.
Thank you. All right, so we told you we're going to ask you 8 questions. We've already gone through 9, believe it or not, and we're up to our final question of the night. It is the easiest of the night. Mr. DaSilva, it begins with you. What issue do you want to talk about that we have not already focused on tonight?
I think the issue that we're all talking about is who is better positioned to lead our city going forward. You're looking at making a decision come November 8th, or you can vote early here at City Hall up until November 7th. Look at who has the leadership experience, who has a proven track record, who's demonstrated that they can lead the city through difficult times, who's been able to keep the community together by holding events that brought people together at the most trying times when people were shut down and locked in their doors, who's been leading the city to bring in businesses, and who's been leading the city to bring development to some projects that had been sitting around on the shelf for decades. I mean, it's an easy decision, and I'm hoping that the people, when they make the determination, look at this debate and understand that we've got what it takes to continue leading.
Mr. Rossi, what issue do you want to talk about that we have not already focused on tonight?
I'd like to talk about a plan for this city. I am very troubled by the budget process, what I've seen unfold with a budget that I don't find to be transparent at all. And it's going to lead to trouble for all of us. It's going to get this city in trouble. Collectively, we have a short memory. There was a budget commission here. They made some recommendations. What was one of the recommendations? One of the recommendations was to have a 5-year budget plan. The other recommendation that needed to be done was to synchronize the city's budget with the state budget. Every year, we borrow millions of dollars in TANs, which are called tax anticipation notes, and we pay hundreds of thousands of dollars in interest on that. It is just burning money. $300,000, $500,000 a year. I believe the first year of this administration, TANs were at 18 million to be borrowed. I believe that's going to 20. Now it's going to 22 million to 24 million this year. It is a complete waste of money. And in fact, because of the lack of vision, to try to get this budget synchronized with the state, we're the only community in Rhode Island to pay a car tax. 1 million people live in this state, and we were the only one to pay a car tax. And the reason for that is because we don't have a synchronized budget, like the Budget Commission suggested.
Thank you. Okay. All right. That concludes our question and answer period. I added wild cards because I figured you guys were going to talk more. I'm probably going to regret that now because you now have lots of time for your closing statements that we are going to have to listen to if you choose to use that all. But the first closing statement goes to Mr. Rossi, who you could have, it's not so bad, up to 3 minutes for your closing remarks.
Well, I hope not to take that because I don't think anyone here wants to hear that. So once again, thanks to the league.
Oh, hold on. Look, we inadvertently gave you 4, and we don't want that. So we're on 4. When it gets down to, hold on. All right, there you go. Take it away.
I'm running for mayor to change the political culture of this city. I've had enough of political insiders and big campaign donors having their way with East Providence. My opponent is an epic political insider. He has raised hundreds of thousands of dollars in campaign contributions, with 3/4 of that money coming from non-residents, developers, and lawyers. There are 4 things I will guarantee when I become mayor. The property located at the former Metacomet golf course will be put on the ballot for the residents to decide. If we take it by eminent domain, we will vote on its future. Say good riddance to these speed cameras. It will be my mission to stop this money grab. If my opponent is given 4 more years, you folks better hang on to your wallets because more traffic cameras are coming. This was never about child safety. The camera revenue is for this administration is a slush fund for irresponsible spending and mayoral pet projects. I will work diligently to synchronize East Providence with the state's fiscal year. This will save us millions of dollars in the future. Due to my opponent's myopic vision and lack of interest in actual governance, the residents of East Providence had to pay an additional year of car tax. Remember, 1 million people live in Rhode Island, and we're the only ones who paid. Finally, I will make myself accessible to all residents. I will not hide on the 3rd floor behind a wall of glass. The mayor's office belongs to the people, and it belongs to on the 1st floor, where it has been for 40 years. This is a tale of 2 cities, those who are on the inside and those of us on the outside looking in. My opponent answers to political cronies and campaign donors, the inside. I will answer to you because it's you who pay the bills. On November 8th, I humbly ask for your vote to allow me to correct the direction of this city. And furthermore, I'd like to clear a couple things up tonight. My opponent goes around saying a couple of things that are untrue. So let's get that straightened out right away. So when speaking to people I know personally, he has said to them that if I'm elected, Brian Coogan will run the city. Well, let's talk about the elephant in the room. Brian, you will have no more influence in this city than any other citizen here. Also, that my wife is going to get a job. Chrissy, you will be not getting a job with this administration. I will only hire qualified people. And finally, and most egregiously, and I hope this isn't true, because I stood up for someone who was being egregiously accused of vile things, I have now been told that my opponent likes to tell people that I hang around with racists. Well, I'm not a racist. In fact, when Trump had those remarks at Charlottesville, I joined the NAACP. I fought for my members to have same-sex health coverage before the Supreme Court decided that it was legal. Thank you very much.
We're out of time. All right, thank you. Mr. DaSilva, you have up to 4 minutes, if you would like, and give us a moment. Sorry for the pause. We got to get it right. And take it away.
First, I want to say thank you to all of you for taking time to come in and be part of this this public debate. I want to thank my opponent for showing up and speaking on what his beliefs are. I think you've heard clearly from both sides of who has the necessary experience and vision to lead the city in the right direction going forward. We've done a lot in a short period of time. It's hard to believe sometimes when I look at the list of accomplishments in the middle of a pandemic. It's really hard to believe some of the things that we've done. We secured $3 million in support for a community center for our residents. Twice people voted for it, and twice it was denied. We installed 2 splash pads in our community that were built by our team working together to get those in those communities that would be most impacted by it. We put up a regional vaccine clinic working with the governor and his team to take care of our residents. We secured $445,000 for affordable housing to increase our affordable housing in the city. We've actually reached our state mandated 10%. We've got 1,200 units being built right now to further expand our housing stock. We've assisted several new businesses to open their doors during the pandemic. While other businesses were closing, businesses were opening in East Providence. We've attracted several new businesses, including Igus Expansion and Nexsense. Our community is one of inclusivity, acceptance, diversity. That's who we are. We're East Providence. And what you're seeing here in East Providence is people moving into our community, the Latino population growing, the Cape Verdean population growing because they feel a sense of community here in East Providence. We secured $180,000 in grants for our senior center. Secured a $400,000 grant for the Kemp Field project. Secured $350,000 for a workforce program to benefit our residents. And we got $35 million in committed funds to build a port. We've also saved $968,000 in financing charges. When my opponent talks about synchronization, and he's talking about it like it's snapping the fingers and getting it done. It's something that was tried by the city before. They needed approximately $60 million to make that become a reality. It would be a multi-year process to reach synchronization. You'd have to budget $60 million over a long period of time. You can't just do that overnight. When you talk about political culture and cronyism, when I first ran for office in 2018, I ran against my opponent's wife, Rossi. And Rossi came and supported me in my general election. And John Rossi's always been a friend of mine. We've been friends. We worked together on other campaigns. But then something happened. Rossi came to me a short while after being in office, and she wanted a job. She wanted to be a project manager in the city's planning department. And I said, listen, I'm not going to be that guy who does that. We will post that job, and you're welcome to apply. In September of 2019, when we had a vacancy in our senior center, John Rossi himself lobbied me to make him be the director of the senior center. And I told him, I said, that job is much too important. And we posted the job and we hired somebody who was qualified. So let's talk about political cronyism. We're transparent, we're open. We haven't bowed to the political cronyism. We've done things the right way.
I got a clock right here. I'll let you know when you're done. Pull it closer.
So I'm truly astonished at the falsehoods that were said here. I applied for, you can giggle all you want. I applied for the job at the senior center because I knew someone was leaving that. I didn't lobby for it. And my wife didn't ask to be a city planner. She doesn't even have the qualifications to be a city planner. But once again, when you have the kind of record this man has, he'll lie about his opponents.
You want to respond without any new accusations?
Yeah, go right ahead. I just want to say that I stand by my statement. It's the truth. And, you know, when you look at our history, we were friends. We were close. But unfortunately, I didn't play the old school political game that will be played if, God forbid, he and his people are running the city. It's important that we keep the city going straight on the path that it's going and continue the progress. Thank you.
All right, let's. All right. Before we wrap it up, we're going to have some closing remarks from the Susan from the League of Women Voters. If you just stick with us for a minute.
Well, it's been an interesting evening. I'm glad you all came. I hope you got some insight that will help you in making your decisions. Election day is November 8th, but remember you can avoid the lines and vote in person during the day during city hours, and on Saturday, November 5th from 9 to 1. A link to this forum and all previous ones this year for all the races that we've held in East Providence will be available on our League of Women Voters website, www.LWVRI.org, up to Election Day. Now we're going to have a debate for Ward 2 candidates for the school committee. So if you don't plan to stay for the school board, please exit quietly and quickly so we can begin that forum promptly. Again, thank you for attending and have a good evening.
Thank you. Well done. Good job. All right. You stopped recording.